2023 was a great year for my business. It started out rough, and there were definitely some ups and downs, but overall, it was a year of learning and discovery. Okay, so first I'll give you a quick update on this channel. I believe I mentioned last year that I qualified for monetization, but I hadn't quite gotten it set up yet. So I have done that now, and I'll come back to how much I've made in a minute. In 2023, I got just under 2,000 new subscribers, which totals about 4,000 subscribers now, so thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. That helps me grow and encourages me to keep doing this. Last year I got about 311,000 views, which is mind-boggling to think that that many people have seen my face. And then total for the whole life of the channel, I started this in January of 2020, I've gotten about 535,000 views, so more than doubled like the previous 3 years just last year alone, so that's super exciting. As for what YouTube paid me, $1,162.46. It's really cool to get something back for all this work that I put in, but the dollars invested just on editing costs for these videos are just shy of $7,000, so I still got ways to go before it becomes profitable, and that number does not include the cost of equipment or labor hours when I have one of my workers helping me film by holding the camera or whatnot. So yeah, there's still quite a bit of growth before the channel becomes profitable, but I always have enjoyed making videos, like since I was a kid, so I'll probably continue to do this because it is a lot of fun. And so again, for all of my viewers and subscribers, thank you so much for watching, and please stay tuned for more. The previous year, 2022, was a rough one for my business. I actually had to borrow quite a bit of money a few times to make payroll. Usually when I do that, I have it paid back in a few weeks, but that year I was never able to get it repaid, and I ended the year owing about $25,000. My husband and I made a deal. If I wasn't able to pay that back by the end of this year, I would have to consider closing. So I went into 2023 with a goal and a hard deadline. I was on a mission to figure out why I wasn't making profit anymore. I scoured over my profit and loss statements so many times to figure out what I could cut, but nothing seemed outrageous or even cuttable. The only costs that were more than 1 or 2% were my payroll, which I wanted to raise, which would make it more, and taxes, which I can't really do anything about. Then I was struggling to find enough gardeners to do the work that we already had lined up. Without enough margin to give raises, I was having a hard time keeping up with inflation and rising wages of other employers. A person could make as much flipping burgers, since a lot of places are offering more than minimum wage right now just to attract help. I didn't want to raise my rates again, and at $45 an hour for maintenance and $65 for projects, like big cleanouts and installations and stuff, I thought I was already charging an astronomically high amount. I wanted to make a profit, but I'm not trying to scalp my clients, and $45 an hour adds up fast. I did 2 things this year that completely turned things around. Both were educational endeavors. SCORE is a free resource for business owners sponsored by the SBA, that's the Small Business Association. They offer free and low-cost classes on all sorts of topics, as well as free mentors. So I've been on their email list for some time and taken a few of their classes. I even signed up for a mentor the previous year, 2022, and had one phone call that was underwhelming, to say the least. After about 30 minutes of him listening to my situation, his answer was to just raise my prices, and did I need any help with marketing? I was like, thanks, Captain Obvious. I've already done that, and no, I've got a waiting list with over 100 names on it. I don't need help with marketing. But he had a buddy that asked him to hook him up with some new people, so he was trying to push for his buddies. Anyway, I was a little annoyed, so I concluded that their mentor program was a joke, and I moved on with life. But this year, I received an email about an SBA program called Thrive, and I replied to the email to ask a few questions. I was planning on going into detail in this video about the Thrive program, but I don't want this to get too long, and even though it was a good program and worth doing, it wasn't the thing that really made the difference. So I'm going to do another video specifically about Thrive later. For now, suffice it to say that it was fairly valuable, and I do recommend it to business owners in general, and it was the second thing that I did that made a huge difference this year. So, back to the email. The person that responded to answer my questions also asked if I had a mentor. I'd told him about my experience, and I said that I thought it was a joke and I needed a mentor to really take an interest in me and my business to help me get to the bottom of this. He offered to take me on, so I thought I'd give it another chance. Best business decision I made this year. We met on Zoom every few weeks. He helped me clean up my financial statements. He looked back several years to really get a picture of what was going on and taught me the things that I didn't know yet. He said I was doing better than most business owners since I was at least keeping financial records to begin with. Apparently, some of y'all don't even know what a P&L is, let alone keep it up to date. But there were a few gaps that needed to be filled in. Around mid-July, he gave me an assignment to label each line item on my P&L as a fixed or variable cost. I probably mislabeled all of them because I don't fully understand the terms. A cost that's fixed every hour could be variable monthly and vice versa. So I don't know. But I did take it a few steps farther and it completely blew my mind. I added columns for hourly costs, monthly costs, and annual costs. Then I entered the real numbers from my previous year's profit and loss statements. When I totaled them up, my jaw hit the floor. The monthly overhead for my super low overhead business was over $8,000 before I paid myself. I had no idea. Then I went a bit further and figured out that there's an average of about 20 working days per month. So I divided that number by 20 and realized that we had $440 of overhead per day, again, before I paid myself anything. When I had only 4 or 5 gardeners out in the field each day, it was no wonder that we were barely making ends meet. Then I wondered how many hours we were actually working in a month, so I looked up our payroll spreadsheets and totaled them up. I thought with 10 gardeners working an average of 20 to 30 hours a week each, it would have been at least 800 to 1,000 hours per month, right? Nope! Several of my gardeners were part-time, only working a couple days a week, so it was more like 400 to 500 hours per month. Didn't know that! So I finally had my answer. My overhead was way higher than I thought, and we weren't working nearly as many hours as I thought, so I learned a lot about my business that I didn't really have an eye on before. All those 1 or 2% line items added up to about 20% of my revenue, and that was a lot of dollars. There wasn't anything meaningful that I could really cut, so I realized that yes, I had to raise my prices, and soon. It was mostly a question of how much would be enough to cover all my expenses, give raises, pay myself, and pay back the debt from the previous year. I was not excited about that. I was terrified, in fact. I hate adjusting rates even for each new year. I was not looking forward to having to raise rates mid-season. So I sat on that, thinking, for a bit too long. Luckily, I have some amazing staff. My office assistants that had been following me through this whole learning process kept on top of me, making sure that I didn't put this decision on the back burner and forget about it. After a couple of weeks, one of my assistants, Erin, came and cornered me to tell me that she had done some market research to find out what other gardeners charge. And we were at the very bottom of the range. The lowest rates for professional gardeners in the United States were $40 to $50 an hour. The average was $60 to $80, and the highest was around $100 per hour. Holy bejesus! She pointed out that my skills and the skills that I teach my crew are worth way more than the apparently rock-bottom prices that I was charging. By this point, I had added the final thing to my awesome new spreadsheet, a little worksheet that figures out how much we'll make or lose if we charge different rates and work however many hours. The rate and hour cells were variable, so I can change them to try different things. After a lot of experimenting, thinking, praying, talking, and then repeating over and over again, we finally landed on our new rates of $60 per hour for maintenance and $85 for projects. We decided to begin the new rate on November 1st, so after the maintenance contracts were complete, so it would only really affect fall cleanups. We also would not change rates on any current projects that we were in the middle of, so we would complete them at the contracted rate that we'd already agreed on. Now it was a matter of telling our clients. In my letters that I usually send with invoices, I included a new rate and a brief explanation of why it was needed. I kept it short so it didn't sound like a huge sob story, and anyone that wanted more information could call me. I had a whole list of reasons, talking points, and justifications written down and ready for when my phone started blowing up from upset clients, because I didn't want to forget things when they actually called. I also included a survey with 3 options. Clients could check, "I understand and agree to the new rate, please keep my services the same," or "I understand and agree to the new rate, but I need to adjust my services," or "I cannot agree to the new rate, please cancel my service." They had those 3 choices. We sent out those letters and surveys with the August invoices. Then I kind of thought I should be a bit proactive, and I called all of my biggest clients. So those with monthly bills over or near about $1,000 a month, I wanted to explain what was going on and answer any questions they had before they got that letter. What surprised me was that none of them were surprised, like at all. And they were all very encouraging. I was so reassured that at least I would still have them, even if I lost most of my other clients. And I still have that waiting list. Now it has over 150 names on it. So as much as I don't want to think of clients as replaceable, the fact was that there are still a lot of people waiting to hire me. And now I had the reassurance that at least my biggest clients would still be there. So now we mailed out the surveys and we waited for responses. The first dozen came in. All but 1 agreed to the new rate. The next 20 or so arrived. Same thing. I sent surveys to about 80 clients, and as of this video in January, I've lost 4. That's it. 4. 4 people are all that's canceled their service out of 80. I could hardly believe it. Several people needed to adjust their services. Either they're going to reduce the frequency of our visits or by reducing the time that we can spend there. But the support that came with their return surveys was amazing and unbelievable. It was so encouraging and moving. There were some tears shed, not going to lie. This time they were the happy kind. At this point, I'd like to extend my sincerest gratitude to my clients for so much support and encouragement. Thank you so much for your kind words and your faith in me and my crew in these difficult times. I cannot even express how much I deeply appreciate you all. And I'd also like to extend my deepest thanks to my crew, both my gardeners and my office staff. Without you guys, none of this would be possible. Thank you so much for your work, all of your blood, sweat, and tears, and I mean that literally because roses can be mean sometimes, and I know how much we sweat when we're in the field. And I know that many of you have cried right alongside me the last few years. I appreciate you so much, and this year I finally will be able to put my money where my mouth is with a nice big raise. I'm happy to announce that although we did not completely repay the $25,000 that was borrowed by the end of the year, we nearly had, and it will be paid back before we begin the new season after the last few straggling payments arrive. We will be in business again in 2024, and hopefully for many more years to come. So once again, thank you so much, viewers, for watching this video. Thank you for your support through the many years, and if you liked this video, please make sure to tell me by hitting the like button. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. I sure appreciate you. Stay warm this winter. I'll see you in the garden.